Good morning. This morning I want to go ahead and provide some short instructional video about this Microsoft Access project. Now, first of all, it's 75 points, and let's see, I'll have this video linked to this spot. Now, I want you to design and develop a database in Access based on your own interest. This is your database. Each student's database will be different from every other student. So do something unique, something that's important to you. Now, with this, the requirements are write a short narrative describing the database, and then 2 or 3 sentences is just fine. No more than that. That'll kind of give you an idea of what your target is. And then submit your narrative in the comments section when you submit your project. So just include that when you submit the project. Development, I want you to create 2 tables, and this evaluation is based on 2 tables. Now, your database can have more than 2 tables. That's absolutely fine. You can build this database as big as you want, but the minimal requirement is 2 tables. Now, let's see, this whole section 2, is worth 40 points. So each table should contain at least 5 records. Each table must contain at least 5 fields. Each table must have a primary key, of course. One table must have a foreign key, of course, if you have 2 tables. And then, because that primary key, foreign key constraint, that integrity relationship is the thing that ties it together, the referential integrity between a primary key and foreign key. And then we have, let's see, one table's foreign key. One table must include a date. So add a date to this. Insert, when you have that built, insert data into all tables, and then develop 4 separate queries. And each query should be meaningful and valuable. So, and then title the queries uniquely. Just one thing to note, that with some of this criteria, each table should contain at least 5 records and 5 fields. You know, the idea is that you have at least enough data to be able to do some decent queries with. You should be able to grab some good information from 5 records and 5 fields within 2 tables. Okay, so with that said, we will go to Access. This is what Access will look like when you initially open Access. Of course, you know this. You've been working on this. I'm gonna really quickly develop a table. I'm gonna pause the video at a point when I just enter the data in, and then I'll go ahead and set up the referential integrity, which means connecting the primary key to the foreign key, and then the queries. Okay, so I'll do some pausing and things like that. So first of all, best idea to go to Design View when you're setting this up. Save the table as book list. I'm just going to call it book list. Okay, the ID, and I'm going to start with book title. This is going to be books. I'm going to have authors tied to books. Just 2 tables. B_ID. Oftentimes you see that. Auto number is just fine. That'll automatically increase the number as you go. And then let's see, in my first book list, I'll have book title, and that's text. That's a text field. And then published. And I'm just going to leave that text for now, but that should probably be a date field. I don't know. I only know the year. I don't know which particular month and day. And then author ID, and that's going to be a number. Okay. Now I only have 4 fields here. You make sure that you put in 5. I'm just kind of doing this quickly. Okay. So I need to save this. Always need to save, and then I'll go ahead and create another table. Here, hold on here. So I think I'm recording again. So we'll go ahead and create this new table, and then again go to the Design View, table name, authors, and then author ID. We can auto number that, and then let's see, we have last name, It's a text field. Birth year. I went and set some of this stuff up beforehand, just to have it laid out here on the. I kind of just wrote out my schema. The schema is the way the database looks, so I have that written out, and that's what I'm referring back to. Birth location. That's a text, and then death. Text. Okay, so with that, I'll go ahead and save this. Now, I can go back to book list, and then home, change the view to datasheet view, and I'll go ahead and enter in that information at this point in time. So I'll go ahead and pause the video, then come back to this. Okay, now at this point I've entered information, and with these books I selected titles of John Carter of Mars, Tarzan, and then How the Irish Saved Civilization, and published, let's see, in 1912, 1914, 1995, and then the author ID. See, the author ID is 1 and 1 and 2. When I look at the authors, I'll have author ID 1 is Burroughs, born in 1875 and in Chicago, died in 1950, and Cahill, author ID 2, was born in 1940 in New York and is still alive. So once again, if we look at author, and this is how these pieces tie together, author ID 1, go back to book list, author ID 1 wrote these books. So at this point we need to go ahead and set up the referential integrity. Now Access always asks you to save a lot, so, and do that, save a lot. So we're going to go to, let's see, database tools and set up the relationships. Access is going to ask you which tables do you want to go ahead and add into this. So we're going to add both, close that. Now to set up the primary key, you can notice the little keys are on the primary keys on each of these tables, and so that does that by default. You can click it off, but it sets that up by default. So you know, that particular point in the assignment where it asks for 2 primary keys, it'll, if you just let the Access work by default, you'll have those primary keys. Now I'm tying author ID to author ID, so I'm going to click and hold, drag across to author ID. This gives me the relationship. So in authors, author ID is tied to book list author ID, and that's how I make that connection from one to the other. Now this button says enforce referential integrity. That means that if I have an author ID of 3 in my book list, I absolutely have to have an author ID of 3 in my primary key. Now with this, and just with our quick and short project, I'm not going to worry about that at this point, so I'm going to leave that unclicked for right now. But I'm going to go ahead and create that relationship. Now we have a book list, we have authors, and we have a relationship, and all we need to do at this point, of course, is create that query. So I'll go ahead and get that set up and then pause this for a sec. Okay, now at this point I want to go ahead and go to create and go to, well, you know, you can use the query wizard or query design. And actually within Access, I actually prefer to use this query design. It seems to be a little bit easier, but you know, I also teach databases, so it may make a little more sense. So anyway, what we want to do is include the tables that we want to work with, that we want to include in the queries. If you only have a 1 table query, then you only have to add just the 1 table. In this case, I want to go ahead and figure out or query who wrote which books, and I'll just add. So I'll just go ahead and add authors and book list and add that. You can see the tables that I've selected for the query and the relationship. The author IDs are tied together, a primary key to a foreign key. Okay, so we'll close this, and then in the design query in Access, I can simply go through, and this shows you the table and the field. So author's last name. Okay, I want to tie that to, and click over in the next column, and I want to tie that to book list, book title. You can go ahead and run that query by hitting the exclamation mark. And then I have Burroughs wrote John Carter, Burroughs wrote Tarzan, and Cahill wrote How the Irish Saved Civilization. Okay, now you can go ahead and then save this. Right click, save, and then author, book titles. And I could just more easily, let me do it this way. Titles, there we go. Okay, and I can just go ahead and save this. That adds my query over here. I have my tables, and I'm good to go, and that meets the criteria of this particular assignment. You'll go ahead and then save this assignment. Okay, and then the final piece of this is I'll minimize this, go back to our page. When you go to assignments, I'll have to go into the student view to see this. When you go to and in the student view, so this is what you'll see. When you go to assignments, then you'll see upcoming assignments, access project, submit the assignment, of course find the file, but in your comments, this database provides a list of authors and books that I have in collection. Enables me to see which author is tied to which book, and so on and so on. Okay, then just go ahead and submit the assignment. So I think, let me go back to there, leave the page, and this video will work for any of the Access assignments. You can see the particular course, but it'll work for any of the Access projects. So I'll include this video across all of my computer literacy courses. So with that, thank you very much.